I'm Roger Wood. I'm speaking with Lisa Dennison and Sheila Ryan, both from the New Hampshire Society for the Prevention of Animal Cruelty, or NHSPCA, for those who don't know what that stands for. These ladies I'm talking to have a lot to do with that prevention. I want to go to the headlines first. 4,000 beagles rescued from this Envigo LLC. That's a limited liability corporation. That means you can't sue me. But how did this develop? I mean, you have some of the animals there. How did this develop in the first place that these animals were rescued?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One is that this is an active case, so we can't talk about the case. We are an emergency placement partner with the Humane Society of the United States, or HSUS. So because the animals have been transferred all over the country, as you can well imagine, and lots of people are talking about the beagles, really what's best for us always is to talk about our experience with the beagles and how we became involved and what we've been doing since. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Sheila, to that, but
yeah, I mean, as an emergency placement partner with HSUS, we have been involved in many cases over the years, predating Hurricane Katrina. So it's not unusual for us to help when one of the national organizations needs to place animals. And this particular group that ended up in New Hampshire, 33 of them ended up here in New Hampshire, and were split between 4 different shelters. And there may be more coming. We just don't know yet, because 4,000 animals is a lot. So I think it's just it's an ongoing case with Envigo, and pretty horrible, and it underscores the idea of for me anyway, making sure that I purchase things that are not tested on animals, and that's where these animals came from. They were from a breeding facility that provides dogs for animal testing, and it just underscores the need to eliminate that as a practice, I think.
Well, you know more than I do, but I do know from the press reports that these beagles were often malnourished. They were often euthanized without anesthesia. They were in poor condition, and they were intended for lab experiments. That's shocking to me.
It is. I think it's one of the challenges of large-scale breeding facilities. It parallels puppy mills in my mind. You can't have 4,000 dogs in anything but a mill, right? In my mind. Now, I have not walked in these facilities. I do not speak from firsthand knowledge, but in my mind, that's what I come up with. And you can't have individualized care when you have such volume. And so animals are going to fall through the cracks, and it's I think the great joy is that these animals have found a way out and are going to have a better outcome, and are already being loved on and spoiled by staff and volunteers here. And
as you do for every animal,
they will have. Yes, absolutely. And so of the 33 that came to New Hampshire, 7 came to the New Hampshire SPCA. And those 7, I can tell you, were, beautiful, beautiful puppies. Beautiful. They were 12 weeks old and 16 weeks old, or a little older. And they appeared to be in good health. They were not living there for, ages of time. You can only imagine that at 12 weeks old, they already had been removed and transferred and quarantined, etc. So these animals that are both here and across the country have a completely different outcome, and it's one that's joyful.
It'll be interesting to find out how the feds uncovered this, and how the Humane Society got involved with this rescue and what condition some of the pups or mature dogs might be in. But you're saying, I think, that the ones that came to you, the beagles that came to you, are ultimately adoptable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Sorry, it takes me a minute to pause because, you don't, in a case, you don't just get to the point of transfer without having, just knowledge of the challenges that they've most likely faced. Nobody's been convicted yet, things like that. So you do have to be careful when you talk about it. But, I'm suspecting that they weren't the first ones out. And so these are very fortunate young dogs.
You mentioned dogs that fell through the cracks, but those cracks are pretty wide to let those dogs slip through. Any thoughts?
The ones that slip through, well, as joyful as it is for the ones that get out, it's a 180 in terms of heart-wrenching thoughts and
Sure.
Just unnecessary harm that some of them faced. So it's much nicer to think about going forward, not going backwards.
Right.
To add to that, Sheila?
I agree with Lisa. It's hard to read what's already been published about, about what HSUS found upon getting to that facility. You already mentioned, Roger, about some of the things that have been suspected and some of the charges that they hope will be coming. And it's just, it's much more pleasant to think of the puppies that are here and will have homes, and than to think about those that sort of that maybe didn't make it out. We don't have those details, but 4,000 animals is unfathomable to me. That they,
yeah.
It's just, it's hard to even imagine. So very, very grateful that HSUS was able to make it stop for these poor little dogs.
Right. And we've been involved in enough cases over the years that when we read a press release ourselves that talks about living in unsanitary conditions with insufficient food and inadequate veterinary care, it doesn't take much to conjure up images of multiple cases we've been involved in over the years and what that looks like.
Right.
And so it's heart-wrenching, and you just have to, as we do, and any of these responders did, which is put on your gloves, put on your boots, go in and get them out, and then try and have the best outcome for each and every one of them. And so, we're grateful to both the people on the ground who had to do that, and the veterinary staff and medical staff that's working to rehabilitate these animals, and the enormous amount of work it is to transfer animals all across the country. I know we have partners that we're involved in for other reasons, in conference calls and such, and you hear of, Wisconsin or Oregon or, whoever it is across the country, taking in animals, and it's an enormous amount of work, and every state has its own requirements. So some agencies are able to take large numbers because they can have animals cohabitating during quarantine, and other states such as New Hampshire require single housing for each and every animal. So if you have a litter of 3, you have to separate them into 3 kennels, which reduces the number of animals you can actually help. So, you know, each of us and for HSUS to have to work with different partners in different states, and each state has its own regulations for both inoculations, et cetera, before you can transport. It's an enormous amount of work. And
Sure.
I'm just, you know, grateful that for all the partners that are able to step up repeatedly, not just this time, but there are more animals, more beagles transferring along with other animals that are traditional transfers that we're working with, helping shelters across the country. There are more transfers of these beagles still taking place, and will continue to take place for a while.
I don't want to dwell on this much longer because there's better news about what you're doing in Stratum. But to me, it would be interesting, maybe urgent, to find out if these people, this LLC, has transferred other animals to laboratories in the past. Anybody know?
Well, I'm sure they have. You know, they've been in business. You don't start breeding 4,000 dogs on day 2 for this purpose. So they're a mass breeding facility that has been, you know, in operation for a while. So this is, you know, they have failed. It says, you know, federal inspections have resulted in dozens of violations. This is not a new situation. This has been an ongoing situation that it gets to that point.
Right.
Go ahead, Sheila. You had something to add?
No, I was just agreeing that there's, you know, if they've been in business for long enough to have 4,000 animals in their care, is not a new situation, and I'm sure that they have transferred animals previously to testing facilities because that's what they bred for.
And I hate to think about what's going on there or what went on there. I think the company is going out of business, from what I heard. Let's talk about you and Stratum. You've undergone such great growth in recent years, and I think it's incredible.
Well, we hope you come down and check it out at some point in the near future, because to actually be here and walk the campus, it's so much fun. And I think even just phrasing it that way, as we used to say, come visit us at, you know, at the adoption center, or come see us in the learning center. And now we talk about the campus, because we have truly evolved to a campus and expanded in a number of different areas, which has been a long-term project. I mean, we started talking about this almost 10 years ago in 2013 with a vision of potentially expanding, and over those 10 years had acquired the abutting properties to do just that. And when we had the German Shepherds, the woods next door became respite. It was just so wonderful. And when we were able to expand on the other side, we could build out our farm and field program tremendously, which is how we were founded. So,
Sheila, you've had to raise a lot of money for these projects. You're a nonprofit, and nonprofits also always have to go and find money. And
Yes.
you're kind of in that seat. Talk a little bit about that process in the capital fund drive to get this thing going and continue.
Sure. So we have been, like Lisa said, since 2013 thinking about this. I think in earnest, we started pulling together a campaign plan in 2018-ish, 2017-ish. And we had such wonderful people come and help us. Our community is always very, very kind to us, and they care deeply about the animals that we care for and the services that we provide to the community. And it's on a daily basis really rewarding to see how people respond when we put out a request for hot dogs and cheese for the animals that are here, or when we send out a request for donations. I mean, people just love to help animals. And so when we started thinking about the capital campaign, we pulled together a campaign committee of really dedicated folks, volunteers, and board members and others, and just really moved forward through a couple of years of major gift fundraising, and people gave at every level. It was really kind of miraculous, Roger. It was just it was so heartwarming to see. You know, the people who had the means to do big gifts did, and the people who had means to do smaller gifts just as meaningful, because it was a stretch for them. So that's really when we went out, we asked people to, you know, stretch in a way that they were able to, and people responded really beautifully. And so we had we think we finished up the capital campaign. With this whole COVID thing, my years are really messed up. So the capital campaign ended in the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020. And by September of 2020, we were doing the groundbreaking, and then went through COVID and construction at the same time. So Lisa can speak more to the construction part of it, but you know, we had our groundbreaking in September of 2020 and our ribbon cutting in December of last year. So it was about 18 months of construction, all during the pandemic. And it's just been amazing. And you know, our annual fund donors are people who keep the animals fed and the lights turned on. They kept giving so that we could do both care for animals and expand our campus. So it's, yeah, amazing. They're wonderful people.
Insofar as your campus form is larger, what has it allowed you to do extra that you didn't do before in adoption and checking the animals, keeping them in good shape? The mission is a non-kill, of course, and that's requires a lot. So, Lisa, what is it that this adds?
So we're what we call ourselves an open admission unlimited stay facility, and so all animals are placed that can be treated or trained, rehabilitated, as long as they are not a danger to our community or painfully terminal. We will find ways to help them. But the expansion of the campus had a number of particular components. The first one is to really give the same care and attention to our large animals as we do to our small. We had built our new adoption center, which we opened in 2001. So now part of our effort was to build a new barn. We had the lamprey barn, but it didn't quite meet the needs that we had. And so we built Hope's barn, hoping for a brighter future for our animals. And we also built an indoor facility, which is the Equine Center for Transformative Care. And I have to tell you that between the barn, it's an 8-stall barn with turnouts, which has really been helpful. We've had both, the horses in there, but we've also at times had goats and pigs, it depends on what it is. But the indoor as well is used daily, and it's used for both evaluating the animals, for potential adopters to ride them. It has been used for respite during the incredible heat to get the horses out of the heat. We had some really tough times last summer. This summer we had our moments, but last summer it was really, really brutal. And then also in the winter when our paddocks may be full of ice and the horses are, limited to their stalls and the turnout, the indoor gives them a chance for exercise and such. But we've also had the pleasure of doing line dancing. We did our ribbon cutting in the indoor arena. We've done a large animal rescue with emergency responders in there and trying to, get horses that are down and trapped in different locations. And so we could use it for that opportunity. So it's got multiple uses. So that's one part of it. And we were able to build out a number of paddocks over there. So we have also been able to not only work with the animals that we get here, but partner with other agencies that may be overcrowded with large animals and give them a different opportunity through here. So we've transferred a number of horses. That's been great. We also built a new community meeting room, which, COVID was really a challenge in so many ways, but one of the things that this room did was allow us to have better spacing. And so for our summer camp, not the first year, because camp came in a box year 1 of COVID, but year 2 of COVID, we split our campers between these 2 spaces, but we used that room for, 1,000 different kinds of meetings. We
And-
also built a new veterinary center,
Yeah, I was
and
going to
that
ask
has a
that. Yes.
long-term vision as well as a short-term need. The short-term being caring for the animals in our facility now. It's the medical hub for the New Hampshire SPCA, but it's also where we do vaccine clinics and spay-neuter clinics, and will ultimately be able to provide greater access to veterinary care for community members that are, perhaps financially challenged. So we're excited that that will be happening in the coming months, years, et cetera. That will unfold over time. So those were 2 big areas. We renovated our entire back of our adoption center with our dogs, and built a true quarantine area, which has already proven incredibly valuable because we have both a true quarantine for both cats and dogs. And so when the inevitable happens, which is you end up with some disease, which we did at some point, and that quarantine has really reduced the exposure to other animals and allowed us to get through the rehab trajectory and cleaning and protocols and much faster. So instead of something lasting, 3 months, it lasted 6 weeks, kind of thing. So the timing was cut in half. So greater efficiencies there. And then we built an outdoor classroom. Our trails have been expanded. It's just lovely. I welcome you to come down and check it out.
And our listeners too, of course.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
It's very important. How about the smaller animals? Talk about the smaller animals for a minute or 2 or more.
So when you say smaller animals, are we talking about like pocket pets, rabbits, and things like that? Or are you talking about dogs and cats?
Mostly dogs and cats.
Okay.
Probably pretty popular look-see there.
Yeah. They are definitely the highlight. People come in to see the dogs and the cats for sure. And like Lisa was saying, we now have this transfer area that is true quarantine. So when they come in, we can have multiple transfers coming in on different days. And so the process of getting animals in and out and up for adoption is faster and more efficient. And yeah, we always have dogs and cats, almost always have dogs and cats available. Right now we have an excess of guinea pigs. So we're looking for people who are looking to adopt guinea pigs and bunnies right now, because for some reason we just happen to have a lot of them, and a lot have been surrendered. And so hopefully in the next week or so, we'll be doing some sort of a promotion to help get those homed, get those animals homed. But yeah.
Can we talk about the adoption process for a bit?
Sure. So one of the things that COVID did, just like Zoom meetings, et cetera, we've all found new ways to be efficient and to continue to operate in new and unique ways. And some of those things will continue on. So for example, we have opened as of May 3 days a week to the public, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but we're still by appointment every other day, which is what we did for the 2 years during COVID in construction.
Right.
So people can now complete applications online, which they weren't able to do before. They could download them, print them, scan them, but now they're actually, they can complete them online, and we can do all kinds of intros and share, greater information about the animals and even video clips and such. So, when individuals in our community go online and see an animal that they're interested in, they can do it 2 ways. They can submit an application for that and reach out through so literally info at nhspca.org, and they'll reach our adoption center and they'll be able to work with them directly. They can also put in an application, and if it's pre-approved, it will stay on file for a while they're looking for that forever friend, because we don't want them to just grab at the first cute wiggly something that they see. I mean, that may be the right one, but just like the beagles, when I was talking with somebody, it's like, if you weren't looking for a puppy before, and you were pretty clear you wanted an older dog for all the right reasons, don't be taking a beagle puppy just because it happens to be one of the beagles.
Mhm.
Make sure, because in 3 weeks, when that novelty wears off, you now have a beagle puppy in your house, which could be the best thing ever, or it could have been a big mistake, and we don't want that. So we really want people to be thoughtful and make sure that they're adopting their forever friend that they had intended. They were coming in for a cat. That's what they should continue doing.
Well, go ahead.
So anyway, we just, you don't want impulse based on the excitement of the moment. That was the whole problem with 101 Dalmatians and, the Beverly Hills Chihuahuas. So all of us, and then there was a surge of them afterwards when people realized that Dalmatians get big and they shed and things like that.
And black cats
So,
at Halloween too, right?
yeah, yeah. So there's all those kinds of,
that's something to watch, right?
yeah, it doesn't happen as much now as it used to, thank goodness. I think people have become more educated, but, as have we. We used to be very concerned about certain kinds of adoptions. I'm talking 20 years ago.
Hmm.
And, we've learned as well, to have, well, so we do what we call open adoptions, where it's a dialogue. It's not we're not interrogating people. We're trying to help people think and hold up the mirror and make sure they're getting and what they really are interested in and what will fit their lifestyle. So they're not getting a 150-pound dog in a 9th floor walk up, things like that. Or they have the right hiking companion if that's what they're looking for.
And they have to be vetted in some ways. I mean, the adopters.
Well, you want to make sure that people understand about the breed, the species, the breed, any medical issues that they may have. When I started here a very long time ago, we didn't place animals over 7. Well, we place 19-year-old cats now without thinking about it, if we have one and it's healthy. Or we may place an animal that we know is a senior, and we know it's got a particular medical condition, but the prospective owner is aware of it, has signed a waiver, so that we make sure they really do know and understand, and they're prepared for it. That's all. You just want people to be prepared. Some people are very happy to welcome a senior into their home. And I don't mean 19, it could be a 12-year-old dog or who knows. But the point is that everybody's got an opportunity now. And that's the great news, that in animal welfare and in this neck of the woods, so to speak, we really are able to find wonderful outcomes for most of the animals. Now, I will say at this time, we still have one particular dog that's been here far too long, Riley, who really needs a forever family. So, yeah, so sometimes it doesn't happen as quickly as we'd like, but ultimately I'd like to believe they will all find their forever home.
Can I just chime in about Riley a little bit? Because I was actually going to say something about her as well. So Riley is a almost 5-year-old pitty mix, and she's adorable. But she's been here. She's been here 302 days. So that is way too long for an animal. Right now, she's in foster care, which is really helping her and helping us to understand her a little bit better.
Better than a cage, for sure.
Yeah. And she's super people friendly. She has some issues around interacting with other dogs occasionally. And she's had some health issues since she's been here. So she had a skin infection problem, but she's doing really well now. And we're not really sure why she's still hanging around. I think it's just a matter of the right person finding out that she's waiting, because she's adorable. I mean, she's just so cute and sweet. And it just, I can't say enough about trying to find this poor pup a home. She's overdue for finding a home. We're, as Lisa said, we're unlimited stay, so she's not going anywhere. But she definitely needs a push for people to share her on social media or whatever, and try and help us find her a home.
Yep. And if people want, they can go to our Facebook page and see her. They can search for her, our website and search for her. Yeah. She's out there. Her name is Riley. She's really cute. And,
Really cute.
you know, the average length of stay for a dog here is just a few weeks. So to have a dog that's been here for 10 months, it's just heart-wrenching.
Not good.
It logistically for people to walk in, what is that like now? COVID, some restrictions have been lifted, right?
They have, as I said, we're open 3 days a week for people to walk in, and all the other days we're open as well, but we're open by appointment.
What are the three, middle of the week or?
Yep, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 11 to 4.
Hmm.
But if somebody's like, I can only come on Saturdays, they can. You know, as I say, it's just open by appointment. We don't have the doors open all the time for people to come in and sort of just visit. We're just trying to reduce the amount of visitors because of COVID, just to keep that precaution, especially as you know, you keep seeing these little mini surges.
You're the largest humane society, or I should say, as SPCA in the state, and you're large. Do you want to be larger at any point? Do you need to be larger?
No, I will just say for myself, Sheila, you can answer this too, but our goal isn't to be larger. It's to meet the needs of the animals in our community. And so building the veterinary center or the arena or the paddocks or you know, enlarging our footprint was about creating a better environment. So for example, you may recall the infamous shepherds. Well, we had those shepherds on our property and they were walking in circles on the pavement of our, you know, in the parking lots, basically, because that's all we had. So to be able to get them off the pavement and into the woods, to be able to get them, we've created this ring trail that goes around these beautiful rain gardens out back. To create nice walking trails is a better, you know, enrichment opportunity. It's a safer for our people, staff and volunteers who are walking dogs. You don't have cars backing out into you. You're getting them off the hot pavement in the summer and the icy pavement in the winter. So it really is about enhancing the experience for animals and for people, but not just about growth and size. The other thing I'll say when you say, you know, we're the largest, and we're the oldest too. So I have to say, we're celebrating our 150th anniversary this year.
Wow.
We were founded in 1872, incorporated in 1874. We're one of the 10 oldest in the country, and we were unsheltered for many, many, many years. But it's a very exciting time for us, and we can only say thank you to our community that has supported us along the way. It's really how it's happened.
This has been a terrific interview. I want to thank you both. And I promise I'll send you a link because I'm going to get to work on this almost immediately.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you so much, Roger.
Awesome.
It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, by the way, my 18-year-old cat heard this, but he doesn't care. You know, like
happy
a
in his
cat, right?
home. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Thanks a lot. Talk soon. Yeah.
You bet.
Thank
Bye.
you.